You've seen the latest settlement by the National Association of Realtors in the news with sensational headlines like 6% commissions are no longer required by sellers. Buyers agents are going away and home prices will be slashed. What is going on? I'll answer those questions and much more. Stay tuned, it's coming up next. Hi there and welcome to Living the Fort Lauderdale Lifestyle. I'm Scott Neubrecht and today we're going to go over this latest settlement by the National Association of Realtors. You've seen the sensational headlines in the news like no more 6% commissions required by sellers, buyers agents are going to go away, and home prices will be slashed. Well, guess what? I'm going to answer these questions and tell you a little bit about each of them. So let's dive right into it. First of all, I want to tell you that the settlement has not even been signed off by the judge yet. So nothing is set in stone yet. And if it does get signed by the judge and it goes through, these conditions won't take effect until about mid-July. The process for the settlement is expected to take a couple of months, and it gives the opportunity for both sides to object. So as I mentioned, nothing has been signed off yet by the judge, but if everything were to go forward and take place in mid-July, here's what we can expect. First of all, let's address the sensational headlines that you've seen that say no more 6% commissions for sellers. Well, there has never, ever been written into law or defined specifically what the agent commissions should be, what they're going to be, and what they were. It's never written down anywhere. What has happened is, in your area, there is an ordinary and customary percentage that is paid to the listing agent, and usually an identical amount that is paid to the buyer's agent. And that has not changed. The settlement by the National Association of Realtors really only has one outcome for realtors, and it is this: we can no longer have the commissions for the buyer's agent listed on the actual listing on the MLS. One of the results of the National Association of Realtors' recent settlement was that they wanted to make everything more transparent, and making it more transparent is apparently by not listing the buyer's agent commission on the MLS. Let's actually take a look at what not having the buyer's percentage listed on the MLS will mean for everybody. It will actually not be more transparent. It will be very untransparent, because now buyers and their agents are going to be looking at homes and have no idea who's going to pay the buyer's fee if the seller digs their heels in and says, I am not going to pay a buyer's commission. So as I had mentioned, the commission percent for the buyer's agent has never been specifically written down or mentioned by law anywhere. It's always what has been customary and ordinary in your area. And this is why I don't feel in the immediate future that anything's going to change. Here's why. If you have a home and you have a good listing agent, the listing agent is going to explain the benefits to the seller for offering a buyer's agent commission. By having a seller still offer a buyer's agent commission, you are going to ensure that you have the most qualified buyers coming to your home, seeing your home, making offers on it, and then you'll be able to close the deal with the most profit and the best terms possible. If sellers start digging their heels in and say, I am not going to offer a buyer's agent commission when I sell my house, I'm just not going to do it. Well, guess what's not going to happen most likely? You are not going to get the most buyers with their agents coming to your property to make offers on your home. Here's another reason why. Most buyers can barely come up with the closing costs and the down payment. And if they have to now worry about how they're going to pay their agent the commission fee, you can bet that that buyer and that agent are not going to come and see your house if you're not offering some type of compensation to the buyer. Now, I do say all this barring some sort of newfangled way or solution, rather, that maybe the mortgage community, or even maybe the National Association of Realtors and or the Florida Realtor boards or your local board, that's barring some newfangled way that they may come up with, having another solution or option for buyers to pay the agent commission if they find a house that they really like and the seller is just not willing to budge on paying the commission. So you've seen the headlines out there about how sellers aren't going to pay the buyer's commission, and they say home prices will be slashed. Well, let's take a look at that for a second. If you're a seller and you're going to sell your home and you're going to dig your heels in and say, I am not going to pay the agent commission for the buyer's rep, do you think in this universe that seller is also going to say, well, now because I'm not going to pay the commission to the buyer's agent, I will therefore reduce the amount of my home by that amount or maybe more, and the houses will be more affordable? No, it's not going to happen. And here's why. Sellers have a lot invested in their homes. They may have had children there. There may have been a death there. They've put a lot of blood and sweat and tears into home renovations and upgrading bathrooms and upgrading kitchens. So it's a home that they've put a lot of love into, and they may have had it for many years. Do you think that a seller is going to reduce their price just because they decided not to offer a commission? Most likely not. So based on that one fact alone, I don't think you're going to see home prices slashed. Do you? Now let's take a look at the sensational headlines that say buyer's agents are going away. Well, guess what? I don't think they're going to be going away at all, and here's why. Most buyers just don't realize all of the tasks that a buyer's agent does for them. For example, if you didn't have any representation by a buyer's agent and you wanted to go look at 5 homes tomorrow, where would you begin? Because you don't have the MLS with the listings being sent to you by the buyer, so you have to find them all on realtor.com and hope that they're all current. Because unless it says new listing, you don't know if that home was sold last month or if it's a listing from 2 years ago, because they all stay on that website and don't disappear. So you'd have to go and find the homes that are current, and then you'd have to use like a MapQuest type program to plot all the different stops. Then you'd have to try to get in touch with all of the different listing agents through the contact information that's provided on realtor.com, and that's usually just some sort of an email or a generic phone number for the agent's brokerage. And I will tell you, I don't think that would go very smoothly, and it would be very frustrating for a buyer to go through all of that. Maybe you found it very easy to contact an agent through realtor.com. I don't know, but let's just take that for a second and set it aside. And let's get back to the real fact here of, if you were a buyer and you wanted to start looking at homes, you would be stupid not to have an agent help you, because here's the first thing that you got to think about. If you find a home and you like it and you don't have an agent representing you, do you A, have a contract on hand ready to fill out? Do you know how to fill it out? Do you know the critical dates that are involved with it? And do you know how to even make an offer and give it to the listing agent? As a buyer, do you know the critical dates involved in a contract, and do you know what they mean? Probably not. As a buyer, do you have a trusted home inspector on speed dial, someone that you know, ready to go in the first day or two after signing a contract, because that's when you need to have the home inspection done? Do you have that information on hand and ready to go? Probably not. As a buyer, without representation from a buyer's agent, aside from knowing the critical dates on a contract, do you know how to negotiate the terms and the price of the actual home itself? Unless you're a superb and superior salesperson, probably not. Guys, this is just the tip of the iceberg for all of the tasks that a buyer's agent does for their buyer. Buyers should always want a professional agent that knows what they are doing. Buyers should always want a professional agent to look out for their interests. Buyers should always want representation from a buyer's agent so that they can represent their best interests and negotiate the best possible deal and terms for the purchase of their new home. The absolute worst thing a buyer could do is not have representation, go out and find a home that they like, call the listing agent and say to them, "Hi, I'm a buyer and I'd like to make an offer on your home. Will you help me?" Well, of course the listing agent is going to help you, and here's why. Most likely, if that particular home is offering a commission to the buyer side as well as, of course, to the listing agent, he's going to get a double dip because he's not being involved with the buyer's agent. And he's not got your best interests in mind. He's not going to help you negotiate. He or she is not going to help you negotiate the price of the home, any terms, nothing. He's just going to tell you, here's the price and I'll fill out all the paperwork for you. And he's happy, he or she is happy, the listing agent, because they're going to get more money. The listing agent's obligations lie with the seller, not the buyer. So those are kind of the main aspects of the latest legal action that's happened with the National Association of Realtors. And just to kind of recap everything, the only thing that this lawsuit has settled is the fact that we can't list the commissions for the buyer's agent on the MLS any longer, which I think makes it more untransparent, and it will be kind of confusing for a while until we can all figure out how we're going to deal with this. Home prices are most likely not going to be slashed because buyers have a lot of pride in their home, and they're not going to cut the price because they decided they weren't going to pay a buyer's agent a commission. They're actually probably in the immediate future going to be hurting themselves because then buyers aren't going to come with their agents to look at your property, because as I had told you, in most aspects, or in most cases rather, especially if you have a first-time buyer or you've had someone who hasn't purchased a house in a while, they're not going to be able to come up with extra money to pay an agent. It's hard enough to come up with the down payment and the closing costs. And then recapping those sensational headlines about it's the end of buyer representation. No, it's not going to be the end of buyer representation. Most people don't know how to purchase a home, and they need the professional help of a professional realtor to guide them through the process and, you know, help them secure the best terms and the best price when they're looking for their new home. And as I had mentioned earlier in the video, the settlement still hasn't signed off by the judge at this point, so we don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of up in the air. A lot of real estate agents aren't quite sure how we're going to handle this going forward, but for right now, at least until other solutions are offered, or at least until this is signed off by the judge and it does go in effect, again, remember in mid-July, it's going to be business as usual going forward. So what do you all think about this latest National Association of Realtors settlement, all the headlines in the news? Drop a comment below and let me know what you're thinking, because I tell you all the time, I love to hear from you and I really mean it. So drop a comment below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button so you always know when I release my latest videos. And if you need help with real estate here in South Florida, my information is at the end of the video. It's also at the very beginning of the video, and it's down below under the Show More section.